Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Crafting with Lisa. Okay, at our Georgia Suburban Homestead. Today we're going to be making night lights out of skulls. And what we're going to use, just basic equipment, is a skull mold from Resin. These molds come to you with the big mold and 4 little skull molds for your overflow, I guess, but I've been making keychains and necklaces out of these, just to give you an idea of what I've created. There's a keychain with a skull. So, one of the things that I do with this mold is I put things inside the head. Now, some of it is ends up with like a political commentary. As in, putting worms in the brain. And then we've got creepy crawlies. And today, we're going to be using snakes. Now, I find these ingredients on Amazon. And I also have spiders, flies, cockroaches, and I'm going to do one with screws and little springs, which I think might be a little funny. So if any of you have any other ideas on what to put in the brain, kind of as a joke or a political comment, I would go ahead and put that in the comments down below. So here are some snakes that I got from Amazon. So I probably won't use all of these in this skull. But we've got that. We've got our gloves to protect our hands from the resin. You also want to wear either a respirator or mask. I'm outside in my sun porch, so I've got a fan behind me that's blowing fumes out the door. And in front of this table are open screen windows that almost floor to ceiling. So I've got plenty of ventilation, which is what you want when you're working with resin. Amazon sells these little rectangular molds, and it comes in a set of quite a few of them. But since this is a nightlight, I use this as an insert into the mold. So it sits about like that, and it saves you from using so much resin. Resin's expensive, and you don't want to use so much resin that you outprice your end product. But it also will give you a recess to either put fairy lights in or put it on a base with a light, and it reflects the light up through the skull. So, but before we do that, I have a few steps to show you. I have a timer set to 4 minutes, because we need to stir the resin for 4 minutes. I have a UV light, and we are using 2 different kinds of resin. I've got a clear UV resin, tweezers, and we'll be using what is my favorite is I can never get this right in front of the camera. What I am using is the Let's Resin Fast Cure. It's my favorite resin to work with because it's ready faster. Because I'm kind of impatient wanting to get projects done. So we're going to start out with the UV light, the tweezers, the snakes, the skull, and the UV resin. First thing we do is put on the gloves, right? Now I've got very wide, fat, chubby little hands with short fingers. So I don't think they make gloves to fit me. And they're kind of a pain to put on. I did buy these silicone reusable gloves, but they're so tight on my hands up around my wrists that my hands swell. And they get very uncomfortable after a while. But you do want to protect yourself from this stuff because resin can cause skin irritation, respiratory problems, and other things that you don't want. I will have to warn you, if you get into this, it's addictive. But we do weekend crafts fairs. We're starting to become popular. People are starting to look for us. They show up at the booth and they say, "I've been looking for you." Which feels good, you know. You see how that doesn't quite fit my fingers? It's kind of like putting on pantyhose. You girls remember wearing pantyhose? I gave those up years ago. Okay. Oh, Lordy. If anyone knows a source for these gloves actually made for hands like mine, please put it in the comment section. Alright, so first thing we do is we want to decide where we want to put this guy. And I use the tweezers to put the objects in the skulls. Now I've got that one in there, see? Now we need to glue it down. So I'm using the tweezers to, first I'm going to attach the head. Oh boy. Snake's going to be a challenge. Okay, so you see how that snake is in there? Then we're going to take the UV resin, and I'm just going to pour it over the head of the snake down in the skull. Can you see what I did? And then we take the UV light and we just put that down in there for about a minute. And that'll stick the snake to the inside of the skull. And we don't need to cure it all the way, we just need to cure it hard enough to hold the snake in place. So now we're going to look inside and see if there's another place to adhere it. And if you see in here where it goes around where the eyeball is, I think that calls for another spot of UV resin. So I wish there was a way to film what I'm doing, but there it is right there. UV flashlight. These flashlights are great things. Alright, and then I might tack this tail down. Alright, so now I'm going to place more snakes in this skull. I won't make you watch me do the whole thing. I'll be back. I'm back. Now I've got snakes in here. How many did we use? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ended up using 6 snakes. And what I did is I tacked like the head down and then a tail down. Then I turned it up this way and looked through the mold to see if there are any disturbingly clear spaces. And there aren't. So I think that gives us good coverage. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking spiders. Oops. See the spiders? And I'm using 2 per little skull. Same method. I think 1 across the face is spooky. So you just cram it in there and push it down until it fits where you want it to. Put a dab of UV resin on that. Turn your UV flashlight on, and we're not going to worry about bits of legs sticking out over the edge because we're just going to snip those off. Okay. That's 1 spider. This one's going to go in the cranium. You see that? Put a little bit of UV resin in there. Turn your little nifty flashlight on and hold it. It looks like it's already set. But if you look in there, you'll see 2 spiders. Okay, this is the recess for the lighting. So we just gently station that inside the skull, and I try to go as far down as I can. So if you're looking for these square or rectangular molds, look under rectangular or square resin molds in Amazon. Alright. So he's ready for resin. We're done with the UV resin. Now we're going to use the mixing cup. And you need a mixing cup and a popsicle stick. Now I reuse my popsicle sticks. So the UV resin that I'm using is the Fast Cure, and it's a 1-to-1. So I'm going to do 4.0 up to 8.0. So first one is part A. And we pour that up to the halfway mark, which says 4.0. And then part B is going to go up to 8.0. Going to take our timer, start it, and in 4 minutes it's going to ding. Now when you mix resin, you want to go the same direction and stir firmly, but at medium speed so you don't get too many air bubbles in there. And you want to occasionally scrape the sides. And you notice you start out with streaks as it mixes, and it should become crystal clear. Time to stop stirring. You see how crystal clear that is? There's just a few bubbles. So now the resin's going to heat up, and you want it to heat up to about 87 degrees before you start pouring. Julie over at Pouring Your Heart Out says 93 degrees, but I've noticed here in Georgia that if you start pouring at 87 or 89, and that's 71.8 degrees so far. Anyway, if you start pouring when it's like 87, 89, by the time you get it in the mold, it's the right temperature. So now I'm going to add some glitter, because I want this to be able to refract some light when we shine the light up through the skull. So this is my glitter, and this is another item that you get online. Look at all these colors. I think I'm going to go with a light green, kind of a lime green. Let's see. What do y'all think of that color for those snakes? So we don't need a whole lot. That should be enough. I just gently stir that in. So while this is heating up, the bubbles are coming up out of it as well. And you just want to stir that glitter in until it's mixed. You scrape the sides because it all wants to hide on the sides of the cup. And you want it dispersed evenly throughout the resin. Come on. So at this point, we're just waiting for the right temperature. 75 degrees. And when that gets up to the right temperature, I'll be back. Okay, welcome back. The resin is good and clear. It is 89.4 degrees, which is warm enough to pour, and now we're just going to simply pour it around. Now we're simply going to pour it around the outside of this insert. Being very careful not to get any in the insert, because then it's hell to get the insert out of the mold when you demold. Please forgive my hot tub. It cuts on every few minutes to circulate water. That's the best thing my doctor ever did for me, is prescribe that hot tub for my aching back. I broke my back when I was in my 20s. And sometimes it hurts like you wouldn't believe. So the hot water and the bubbles work wonders. So I pour a little bit, and then I tilt the mold up just to make sure that we're getting resin into all the nooks and crannies in here. Because you don't want any air bubbles inside the mold itself, right? I'm going to bring the resin all the way up to the lip here. It's almost there. It usually takes about 8 ounces of resin, which is what we mixed up in the cup. Pretty darn close. Now resin does shrink as it dries, so it's good to have just a little bit of a dome, but it's not necessary. But I do like to keep scraping the inside of the cup because I reuse my cups. So you can see that, how close that is to the top. Now I'm going to set that aside and we'll come back tomorrow and take it out of the mold, okay? And then I've got these little keychain or necklace skulls that are following the same theme as the bigger night lights. That's a fly. This is a chameleon powder bauble to wear around your neck. Got a nice, what do you call it, bail on it. Nice bail. Then we've got the keychains. It's some with flowers in them. I think those are bizarre. What do y'all think? Hey guys, it is the next day and things should be ready for taking out of molds. What had we done yesterday? Okay. We did the little skulls and we did a big skull, didn't we? And demolding is always a challenge. So with the little skulls, I have little feet that are sticking out from this spider. I have what's called a flush cutter, and I'll just cut his little feetsies off, and then you have to peel it back. And the best way to peel back a mold is to, first thing you do is you create airspace between the silicone and whatever it is you poured. And then you wrestle with it. I've discovered it's easier to remove the skull from the back. And you see him? That's how he turned out. I think that's pretty cool. Looks like I've got more feet to snip off here. But let's do the big boy. What do you think? So the first thing I do is take out the insert. And again, this is designed so that I can put like fairy lights up in it, but it also will allow the light from whatever base I use to go up inside before it disperses. Or nightlight. So again, I'm just trying to create airspace between the mold and the resin. And then you just wrestle with it to get it out. Yay! And you're always going to have little bits and pieces to trim. Here we go. I'm going to go. Now you have to be careful with these little bits because some of them can be as sharp as glass, okay? So you don't want to cut yourself. As you see, I'm dislodging it from the back, now from the side, so we're not fighting it there, from his jaw, and then we're going to start bending the mold back. You don't worry about hurting the mold because it's pretty darn flexible. Okay, I've got the first turn. Add the first turn. Second turn. It's like giving birth. Here it comes. Turn that back right side out. I'll do that later. Oh, there we go. I chose the green glitter, remember? And that, my friends, is a skull full of snakes, and now you know how to insert doodads in a mold, whatever the mold may be, if you want to create interest. So, I think that's brilliant, brilliant. Just need to trim it up a little. That's as easy as that is. Then I take a nail file and take off any sharp edges that may be here. And that's how easy that is. I'm going to make a few more of these. So what do y'all think? You like my crafts video? Give me a thumbs up. Make a comment. If you have any ideas for more things to stuff into a skull, I like things that... I'm sorry. I like things that I like tongue-in-cheek. Someone last night on my live broadcast suggested putting cotton balls in here to look like clouds, as in his head's in the clouds, you know, suggestions like that. I've got to figure out how to embed cotton balls or to create clouds. So, again, give me a nod. Yeah, this is a good video. What a cool idea, Lisa. Thumbs up, make a comment, subscribe. We do more than gardening here at our Georgia suburban homestead. We like crafts. Okay? So come back. Come back. We'll see ya.